When a home service business misses a call, nothing obvious happens. There is no alert, no warning, no system telling you that someone just tried to reach you and could not. The phone rings, it stops ringing, and that moment disappears. Inside the business, everything still looks normal. The schedule is full, crews are working, jobs are getting done. So there is no immediate pain. But that is what makes this problem so dangerous. Missed calls do not show up as failures. They do not look like mistakes. They show up as silence. And silence creates the illusion that nothing went wrong, when in reality, a decision was just made without you. That is why missed calls quietly kill growth, even in businesses that are doing everything else right. Now let's walk through the moment the call is missed. The customer dials the first company. The phone rings. No answer. What does the customer think? They do not think, "This must be a great company. They are probably just busy." They think, "They are unavailable." And that assumption matters. Most customers do not leave a voicemail, not because they are rude, but because leaving a message feels slower than calling the next number. So they move on. The second company goes to voicemail. Now the customer's urgency increases. They are still dealing with the same problem. The leak is still leaking. The house is still cold. The power is still out. By the third call, something changes. When someone answers, the customer feels relief. Not excitement, not loyalty, relief. And relief creates momentum. Now questions are being asked. An appointment is being discussed. A time window is offered. And the customer mentally checks the box. The problem is being handled. At that point, they are no longer shopping. They are moving forward. Here is the part most owners do not think about. That customer did not call you once. They called while you were on a ladder. They called while you were driving between jobs. They called while your team was already stretched thin. And they did not know any of that. All they experienced was silence. Now imagine this happens after hours, or on a weekend, or during the first warm week of the season when call volume spikes. The intent is still there. The urgency is still there. But availability disappears faster. So the customer adapts. They keep calling until someone answers. And the moment someone does, the search stops. Now let's look at what happens inside the business. This missed call does not show up anywhere. There is no report that tells you a customer tried to reach you and failed. Your CRM does not flag it. Your calendar still looks full. Your crews are still working. Jobs are getting done. Revenue is still coming in. So everything feels normal. This is where the illusion forms. Owners assume that what they see is the full picture. But what they are really seeing is only the work that made it through, not the work that never had a chance. Missed calls do not create noise. They create gaps. And gaps are easy to ignore when the business is busy. That is why owners often say, "We're doing fine," because nothing appears broken. But invisibility does not mean the problem is small. Here is why this illusion lasts so long. Most business owners look at results backward. They look at the jobs they completed, the revenue they collected, the schedule that stayed full, and they assume those outcomes represent demand. But demand is not what shows up on a calendar. Demand is what attempted to reach you. And most systems only track what gets through, not what was blocked. So the business slowly adapts to loss without realizing it. Owners normalize being busy. They normalize missed calls. They normalize follow-up gaps. Because nothing forces them to confront what never converted. The business keeps moving, but underneath, opportunity is leaking out quietly. Here is where growth changes everything. Most owners assume that as the business grows, these problems should shrink. More staff, more experience, more structure. But growth does not reduce missed calls. Growth creates more of them. As volume increases, pressure increases. Phones ring more often. Messages pile up faster. Schedules tighten. People become less available, not more. Calls come in while crews are on jobs. They come in while the owner is solving problems. They come in after hours and on weekends. And the business starts relying on perfect timing, perfect availability, perfect memory. That works until it doesn't. This is why owners say we're busier than ever, but growth feels harder. Because growth is exposing the lack of systems. Here is the part most owners miss. These problems do not show up the day growth starts. They show up weeks later. A call gets missed here. Follow-up gets delayed there. Scheduling becomes tighter. Customers wait longer for responses. The team starts improvising. People start making judgment calls instead of following a process. Nothing breaks all at once. The business just feels heavier. More effort to get the same results. Longer hours to keep things moving. This is not a people problem. It is what happens when growth arrives before systems do. This is why missed calls are so dangerous. They do not feel like losses. They do not create urgency inside the business. They feel like nothing happened. But something did happen. A customer needed help. They reached out. And the business was not there at that moment. So a decision was made without you. Not because you were bad. Not because you were expensive. But because availability beats intention every time. In the next video, we are going to talk about why most businesses believe they fixed this problem, but still lose jobs anyway. Because the response is only the first step.